Back at home, feeling misunderstood. In between these ears ain't nothing good.
What's going on, Benchwarmers, man? It was a great piece. I mean, I highly recommend you guys going back and watching that. I mean, I brought a tear to my eye like most things usually do, but either way, man, mental health is a very important thing nowadays, especially in the world we live in. So I highly recommend going back to watch that. But let's get back to a lighter side. I got my Santa hat on. We got Santa fishing over here. We got the tree in the back too, man.
Yeah, there you go. There's a wreath. You guys can't see it, but there's a wreath right opposite of me.
We're in the spirit, man.
Yeah.
We are in the spirit, and what better way to name our top Christmas movies?
There we go. I mean, I got my Christmas present I gave to myself. Thank you very much for that. Go to the Fanatics link. You'll hear about it a little bit later in the episode, but I got this. It's a Tommy Hilfiger pullover.
That's Tommy Hilfiger. I didn't know Tommy Hilfiger did football stuff. So
it's some sort of partnership that they had, but this is a really nice sweatshirt that I got for like $50 because they have promo codes running all the time.
Of course, and I got my Drew Lock jersey that I got Fanatics too. Yeah, he had a good game, so I'm going to give him a little bit of love. I have a 30 Phil Lindsay blue one, and I have a Drew Lock one, so no, it's not a repeat. Don't come at me like that. It's not a repeat.
I didn't repeat.
Well, let's start. We have very similar lists.
Yeah, we have a pretty easy taste in movies, I think.
So I'll start with my top four, and then I'll let you tell me what your top four is, but I'm going to go in order. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in this order, okay? So number 1, easy Christmas Vacation. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Every single time this time of the year, I have to turn it on because it's always good laughs. Always good laughs.
Cheap lying, no good rotten. Yeah. You get a subscription to the Jelly of the Month Club for that.
Exactly. Number 2, Home Alone. Home Alone is always a classic, man.
The first one or the second one?
I like both of them, but I'm going to go the first one just because it's the original. I like the originals. That's the same way with me and the Mighty Ducks. Okay. I'm an original type of guy. So I like 1 just because the nostalgia to it, but I think 2 is more of a Christmas movie necessarily, but either way, they're all great movies. So Home Alone's there. Number 3, I have The Grinch just because it's classic. It's an absolute classic, and you can't go month of December without watching that movie.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. And then finally, one of my favorite childhood movies, and that's Elf. Elf with Will. I love all Will Ferrell movies, man. Elf is in my opinion, one of Will Ferrell's best movies. It's not one of the funniest because he has some really raunchy movies that are hilarious. Yeah. But Elf is one of the most kid-friendly, fun, loving family movies, especially during Christmas time, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Elf because I just watched Wedding Crashers over the weekend, and seeing Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashers and then thinking about him as Buddy the Elf. That's a little bit interesting. I looked up this morning when we were talking about doing this, the top list of Christmas movies ranked in order. So I have all of the rankings for the movies that you picked. Home Alone is ranked 51st of all time. So
that's
a little bit low. Not a lot of love shown to Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin. There you go. Shout out Macaulay Culkin. I didn't think that we'd ever get a reference to him on this podcast. National Lampoon's Vacation is 55th all time.
That's just ridiculous.
I don't agree with that one. Grinch is 6th, but I think they're talking about the cartoon Grinch, not the Jim Carrey one. So I don't know.
You can't go wrong either way. It's the Grinch, but I like the live action. So
I'm not gonna tell you you had your Elf as the last one. Elf is 31st of all time.
Elf is a great movie, but it should not be above Christmas Vacation. I could argue above over Home Alone, but not over Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I'll go my top 4 because we do have one that's different, and that's where we might have to put out another poll to see who agrees with who. It's a little bit out there for me because especially I'm not a part of the generation that this movie came out, but Scrooged with Bill Murray. It's the Ghost of Christmas Past story, the Scrooge McDuck story. But it's Bill Murray as a TV executive, and Bill Murray in the 80s, you can't go wrong with any of his movies. Caddyshack, Ghostbusters, Stripes. I love Stripes, but I'm also I'm a product of my parents, just not changing their movie taste. That's why I love Christmas Vacation too.
No, I don't hate that at all. Bill Murray is one of my favorite actors too, man. He has so many classic movies.
And we didn't give him any love during Halloween. We didn't give him any love in Zombieland. He's the best part of that movie. I don't necessarily care for that movie, but him in it is pretty fun.
I don't hate Zombieland. I love Woody Harrelson. So that's why I don't hate it. So
I just don't like Jesse Eisenberg. So that's probably
you just don't.
He ruins a lot of movies that I try to like. Like Justice League.
Okay, that we'll not talk about that. That's just a tough movie.
We'll talk about superhero movies at some other point. But there's our top Christmas movies. Tell us whether you agree with Nico's list with Elf or my list with Scrooge, because that's the only place where we differ. But I think I love Christmas movies.
You can't go wrong at all with any of these.
Shout out honorable mention to the Santa Claus series, because Santa Claus is a lot of fun to watch. And then I put on mine Home Alone 2. I'll just count that we have the same one because Home Alone. But the living at the Plaza Hotel and having a large cheese pizza just to myself in the back of a limo was one of my dreams for a long time growing up. A lot longer than I care to admit.
Yeah, the one honorable mention I'll have too is the Donald Duck's Mr. Scrooge.
Yeah.
The cartoon thing, I always love watching that, and like Mickey's 25 Days of Christmas or whatever. I love watching that as a kid, and so I'll probably throw it on coming days. So
we just have to mention the Rudolph, the claymation old one.
Yeah.
Neither of us had it on our list, but it is. I do throw it on every now and then when it's on because it's a classic. You gotta watch it once a year.
Yeah, right now, unfortunately, it's one of those movies where it's kind of the background because there's been so many remakes, but it's an all-time classic for sure.
Yeah, I love the old school claymation animation that they did. Now let's get into some sports, because we had a big sports weekend. A couple conference championships are set in college football. We'll talk more about college football coming up in a couple weeks. Let's just get this out of the way. We're going to be podcasted out after this next week and a half, because we're trying to get some time off for the holidays, spend with our families. But that means we're going to have to record like 3 or 4 shows in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, we had a lot to record, and then also we did go on some other podcasts too last week. So we're recorded like no other.
Yeah,
man. If you want to go back and listen to those, I went on the Reserves podcast. If you don't think we talk about basketball enough, you can go listen to my rant over there.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy went on Air Raid Attack, which is a lot of great football talk, and then he went on Time to BS as well.
Yeah, we've been going at this like it's a job. It's not a job yet, but we're trying to get there.
Almost there.
So we'll start in college football. I wanted to talk about BYU first because we mentioned BYU a couple weeks ago. I said you can't say we'll play anybody, any place, anywhere, and then turn down an offer to play a Pac-12 school. That's just, you can't do that. So I had some mixed feelings about them. And then coming into this weekend against Coastal Carolina, this was a game that was actually set, I think, 5 days in advance. They didn't have this on the schedule at all at first, but both teams needed a game. They both needed an opponent. So BYU, seeing Coastal Carolina, a little lowly, what we thought was lowly Coastal Carolina sitting out there, and they wanted to go out and get an easy victory. Joke's on them. They lose 22-17. Had a chance to score at the end to take the lead, but they weren't able to do it. But BYU, they talked a lot of shit about not being the college football playoff rankings in the top 4. What do you think this does to them moving forward? And let's look at Coastal Carolina as well, because I think it's big for them.
It's huge for that Coastal Carolina school. I mean, not many people pay attention to Coastal Carolina unless you're a fan of the Pat McAfee show, because Pat McAfee loves betting on them. Yeah. So that's basically the only recognition they get. Plus, also they have the green field, so that's another added thing to it. But the BYU team, man, they have hurt the chances of a lot of teams. I'm going to tell you right now, by losing to Coastal Carolina, it just proves the point even more that the big top 5 conferences, the best teams are always from there, and that a lower conference team is going to have to struggle to get into a top 4 seed. It's going to have to be. They're going to have to take a lot to get into a top 4 seed now.
Yeah, I don't see them.
BYU won't get in.
No.
But now, if you're looking at a team like Cincinnati, the committee is going to look at it like, well, they went undefeated, but still they didn't play competition, and that's exactly what BYU just showed on Saturday, was that they didn't play competition, and now Coastal Carolina is a halfway decent school. They were ranked at one point.
They still are.
You just fumbled the bag.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina moved up from 18. They were 18 going into the matchup. Now they're 11. I'll agree with you that BYU's out, but I think BYU is going to be out for the same reason Notre Dame is normally out, because they were an independent, didn't have a conference this year. So you get to schedule whoever you want to put on the schedule. You get to do. And a lot of times you go for the Sisters of the Poor to inflate your record. I think this actually bodes better for the group of 5 teams on the outside looking in, because now we'll just mention it. SEC championship is set. It's going to be Alabama, Florida. You're hoping that Florida can upset Alabama, and you're hoping for an upset in ACC championship as well. But that's where the group of 5 comes in. So I don't think that BYU losing hurts Cincinnati as much as possibly being able to have 2 SEC and 2 ACC.
The way I see it, Cincinnati almost needs Alabama to win. This is how I see it. Because if Florida wins, Florida will be into the top 4. Alabama, if they lose, there's still an argument they should be in the top 4. Yeah. That takes 2 spots away, and Cincinnati's not going to be there. What they need is Alabama to win. They also need Clemson to lose to Notre Dame again.
And probably Ohio State to lose.
Probably Ohio State to lose to the Big Ten game or Big Ten championship or lose to Michigan. Either one of the two. They need that to happen. They have to have Alabama win out. They can't have they have to have Alabama and they have to have Notre Dame to win out.
Yeah.
You have to have those top two locked in. Ohio State, if they lose, there's still going to be an argument to be made that they should be in there because they have been playing no matter what, and they've been playing their hearts out, and it's just tough. The Big Ten committee is an absolute idiots, so it's not on them that they can't schedule as many games. Yeah. So it's going to be a tough one. But if Ohio State loses, say to Michigan for some reason, but they still win the Big Ten championship, I still believe they'll get in. But if they beat Michigan and then lose the Big Ten championship, I don't know how that's going to work out. A Big Ten champion Ohio State team should make the playoff no matter what, in my opinion.
That's kind of I said it backwards. That's what I meant. Alabama and Notre Dame have to win the SEC and ACC because then you lose the chance of having double people in. Yeah. Ohio State, if they don't have a conference championship, they should not be in the playoff. That's my feeling on it. Even if they're a one-loss conference champion, I would rather have an undefeated conference champion in Cincinnati or Coastal Carolina in instead of a one-loss conference champion.
We've been talking about Big Ten football being as good as it is, though. And they did beat teams like if they win the Big Ten championship necessarily, they'll play Wisconsin or whatever that may be.
And, I think it's Indiana at this point.
No, because Indiana's in the same side as Michigan, so it'd be Wisconsin. They're on the other side, but if they do beat a team like Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, they're 100% in. But their schedule has consisted of good teams. Indiana is a very, very formidable team. They have played great. They smacked Wisconsin too this week. They dominated them on both sides of the ball. Ohio State has beat every single team you put in front of them. If they lose one game in the Big Ten championship, if that team is a very formidable team, then they still should get in my opinion.
Yeah, they did earn my respect a little bit more this past weekend because they had to play without Ryan Day and then 4 out of 5 offensive line starters. So I will say that they've moved themselves up in my book to overlook the fact that they've only had 5 games. Yeah. That was going to be a bigger problem, in my opinion, than it is actually going to be now. Elsewhere, we talked about Indiana, but I just wanted to mention his post-game interview. Tom, the head coach, Tom Allen, the coaches or the players coming over and telling the recruits to come play for this guy. He's the best coach in the country. That's why I think Indiana is going to be in a good position moving forward because Indiana is going to be tough to get those 5-star athletes that they're going to have to be able to compete with Ohio State every year. But if you see the other players around the coach that you're possibly going to go and play for saying he's the number one coach on a nationally televised interview, that's going to go a long way to possibly build that program. So I like that. People
are going to look at them twice, that's for sure. The one thing I do want to talk about this weekend is, while we're still on topic, Ohio State is Ohio State-Michigan game. I had this discussion with our past guest, Jeremy Fear, who will be on later on this month when we do a bowl game episode, so you'll hear that later on. But talking to him, and I was like, well, what do you think? What happens if Michigan beats Ohio State? Do you think Harbaugh keeps his job? And in my opinion, I say yes. The one thing Michigan fans don't care about more than anything, is if they beat Ohio State. If they can lose all the rest of the games and they still beat Ohio State, Jim Harbaugh will still have a job. And that's just the unfortunate thing about it. Do I think they're going to win? No. They're a plus 28.5 dog right now, which is absolutely insane. I might take that. That's not one of my beats of the week, but that's something that's just absolutely insane. That's a crazy thing about. But if Michigan somehow can pull that upset against Ohio State, Harbaugh will secure his job 100%. They won't move on at all, especially if he's able to beat Ohio State for the first time.
Yeah, that would be the big thing because he hasn't been able to do it before. So Jim Harbaugh, I said when I went on Air Raid Attack that I think he's going to have a job. He's going to finish out this season no matter what just because of everything that went on with the virus and not knowing when or where anybody was going to play. He's secured it in this season. But if they lost to Penn State, which they did, and then they didn't get to play against Maryland, but now they lose to Penn State and Ohio State to finish the season, I could see Harbaugh possibly getting canned halfway through next season just because at that point you've proven that your program is going nowhere with this guy at the head coaching spot. He put it in a lot better place than, I believe, Rich Rod was the last guy to be at Michigan, so good on him. They got the Jordan sponsorship, but now I think if Harbaugh can't get it done against Ohio State this year and they end up, that would make them 2-5 to end the season, losing the bowl game, whatever. That would be 10 years of not beating Ohio State. So it would be time.
It'd be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
It'll be the nail in the coffin. The coffin's already made. It's already written. It's just
ready.
not. It's just not closed and it's not nailed down yet.
It's kind of like the situation in New York with Adam Gase. I will save that because we probably
that's a fun conversation to have.
We have anything else? We want to talk about the SEC and ACC championship. They're not this weekend. Actually, let's talk about Army-Navy because that is this weekend. We'll save the SEC and ACC championship
when we're closer to that.
We'll probably for next week's episode. So the Army-Navy game. This is my favorite college football game, especially this time of year because it used to be look forward to CU Nebraska at the end of the season. Now I look forward to the Army-Navy game in December. Just grown in tradition, and Army and Navy have been really good the past few years. It's kind of elevated the status of this rivalry, but it's my favorite college football game because, and they say this quote a lot, it's the only game where everybody playing in it would lay their life on the line, and they're prepared to for everybody watching the game. I love it when the service academies play, and this is a big matchup for a weekend in college sports where there's not too much else going on. So let's talk about Army-Navy.
A thing about this game that people are forgetting about, this is going to be one of the most currently attended games we'll ever see.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen in a very long time just because the situation we're in. Both those academies, I believe, are still sending people, and you'll still see those cadets still there. And that's just going to be another aspect to it because that's so much fun to watch. Yeah. I remember I have a close friend, Carter, who went to Army, who's been to that game. He was at that game where it was absolute blizzard. Mm-hmm. And that blizzard game was one to remember, man.
That was probably, I think that's the last time that or not the last time, but that was one that I really remembered in the light blue jerseys for Navy.
Yep, and it was just one of those games to remember. Absolute snow blizzard. They play in the Ravens Stadium usually, and it's always a game you have to throw on. Doesn't matter if you're an Army side, you're a Navy side, whatever it may be. It's a game that this country should always have on.
It's a game that you watch all the pregame festivities for as well because they sing America the Beautiful and then they do the national anthem. And then after the game, and it's why they play this game because most of these guys aren't going to the NFL. They're not going to get a shot at the next level. They're going to play out their college career and then go serve in the military. But if you win the game, you get to sing your fight song last, and that's what everybody plays this game for. And this is another one where I think if Army and Navy lost all their games but beat the other school, they'd be happy. They just want to beat. This is a time where you just want to beat the rival, and that's all you care about. Because Navy coming into this game is 3-6. I'll give them a lot of credit because they've been playing for a lot longer than some of the other schools. Yeah. Army's 7-2. Army's kind of been, I think Army's won the last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, for the time it was Navy it was Navy.
The game that you were talking about, the Blizzard, was the first time Army won in 15 years.
I think Army's won the last 3 or 4 since then. So
that's good. It's a great game, and it's especially for some of the feelings that's around the country. This is a time where we can all turn on something and maybe have a vested interest all in the same direction. Whoever you want to win. I'm more of a Navy guy because I have family who went to the Naval Academy. I know Carter went to Army.
I have some friends who went to the Army, so I'll say that. I'm more of an Air Force guy, too, because I have some friends over there, too. But Air Force isn't as big as Army or Navy. But
so that's a big thing going on in college football. Like I said, we'll talk about the conference championships that were set next week, or for next week's episode. Let's talk about some NBA because there was a big trade that happened.
Hype me up, Jimmy.
Yeah, here we go. I'm bringing up the NBA on the podcast. Let's throw that out there first. But there was a huge trade that happened after we recorded last week.
First of all, let me cut you off real quick because I literally saw this as you were on the drive over here. But Bull, if you watched his highlights today, oh my word, have mercy, he could be an absolute stud.
He did.
I can't wait.
I saw that before I left too.
He looks like an absolute animal, man. The dude's 7'2", and he's moving like Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Oh man, if he turns into a stud, hype me up, bro. It's gonna be nuts.
That's a good comparison because I was like, why does I've seen a body that long move that way before. What is it? It's not on the same level.
It's not level.
But he could be. He got to get a little bit stronger, but he could be. So Bull's impressing early on, and then
RJ threw in the lob to MPJ.
There you go. My God! You're keeping me up to date on all the Nuggets stuff because you keep retweeting it. Follow us on Twitter at FEOTBpod. We live tweet games, but we also we like to give our opinion and give our love to our local Denver teams. I know I'm wearing a Bengals shirt, but we are in the middle of Broncos country and Nuggets Nation and Avalanche country. Shout out the Avalanche because. They've been making some making some pretty big moves in the offseason.
Yeah,
But the Nuggets
hopefully Gary Bettman, you get your shit together and can
please give us hockey.
Going.
Please give us hockey.
And then we're not talking about that 4th team yet until someone gets fired. So we'll wait on that.
Yeah, that guy, Jesus, that was bad. But let's talk about the other big thing that happened in the NBA. Russell Westbrook, after we recorded last week, was traded to Washington, moving John Wall to Houston to now team up with Boogie. I would say James Harden, but I saw today James Harden hasn't showed up for camp. But Russ to Washington, what do you think about that move for both sides? Because John Wall moving to Houston is probably good for him. But what do you think Russ brings to Washington that John Wall did?
So I talked about this a little bit on the reserves, but John Wall is one of the most underrated point guards people forget about. He was a top 5 point guard at one point, man. The dude could get up and down the floor like no other. And he was doing the John Wall dance, man. He was having fun. And now that he's repaired with Boogie, yeah, Harden is still there, but that opens things a lot more because John Wall and Boogie, their familiarity with each other will have more offense, and this team will actually be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Last year I could not stand watching Houston Rockets basketball because it was Russell Westbrook dribbling up the court, go 1-on-1. James Harden, go 1-on-1. Maybe throw it to PJ Tucker for a corner 3, but that's about it. 1-on-1 ball, and that's just not fun basketball to watch. Now John Wall, Boogie Cousins might have a 2-man game, so might be a lot of fun. On the other side of that, Russ going to Washington, I think people are sleeping on this move a little bit. In my opinion, I think the Wizards are a playoff team now in the East. The East is a very easier conference to get into the top 8, unlike the West where it's just
the West
murder's
is a bunch
row.
of killers, yeah.
Where it's murder's row. But the East, they can squeeze into that 8 seed because people are sleeping on Rui Hachimura's out of Gonzaga's season last year. He had an up and down season, but he showed a lot of good potential. Who knows what this Israeli guy too, Avicii, might do.
Yeah.
Their number 8 pick, he could be a solid 3. So you're looking at a starting lineup of Russ, Bradley Beal, Avicii, Rui Hachimura, and Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant is a formidable center too. He can get you rebounds, but that's a team, in my opinion, makes the playoffs in the East.
Is Joel still on the Sixers?
Embiid?
Yeah.
Well, he's on the Sixers still, yeah.
So oh wait, never mind.
We're talking about the Wizards.
We were talking about the Wizards. I know. I'm
trying. We're gonna get you up to par, I promise.
I'm doing my best. Yeah.
But
be on the lookout for the NBA show coming to the network.
Yeah, we'll have a better name. I promise. We're still in the works of doing that, but we'll have a show too monthly on that. But yeah, so Jimmy will be probably moderating that too, so we're going to be looking out for that.
Lots of dumb questions for guys who know their shit about basketball.
We all know our shit, and I'm a little worried, but the first episode might be a little shaky, but I trust Jimmy. He knows how to do his studying up. So
so now let's go back to the Rockets because I want to talk about the Harden situation. At what point? Because I think part of it is that Houston probably doesn't want to let him go. At what point, as an organization, do you think it's just time to say, hey, this guy obviously doesn't want to be here. Let's go ahead and maximize our value at this point, get him traded, get him out of here.
Yeah, so there's rumors out there saying that Harden and Russ did not want to play together, but I don't know how well those were true. Because if you remember, the one thing about NBA players that you got to realize is there's 3 steps to every single time there's a trade rumor coming out. First one is deny it. Second one is have your agent deny it. Third one is post a cryptic video on Instagram Live or YouTube or whatever it may be. And James Harden, if you remember, took a cap off a water bottle and put it on the ground when all the trade rumors came out. So I don't know if it was no cap or it was cap and just making everyone speculate and lose their mind. So either way, him not reporting though is very, very worrisome. Now, it's intriguing because he hasn't publicly came out and said that I want to trade right now, but we could see it any moment now, for being honest. Considering he hasn't shown up to practice or yesterday or today now, that's a problem. That's a big problem in my opinion. And having your star like that, Houston, I mean, the market's not big for him. No. Houston is going to have to demand another star back in return, and I think the only teams that are able to do that would be Brooklyn or Philadelphia, and either way, you'd have to send Kyrie to Houston, and I don't know how bad you want that. Or you'd have to send Ben Simmons to Houston. I don't know if Philadelphia wants to break that already, but that might not be a bad option.
No, I would see Philadelphia being more on board with that than I would Brooklyn getting rid of Kyrie, because I do think I think the one trade rumor that we can all probably cross off as embellished was Harden to the Nets. Because I really don't think that they want to mess with whatever chemistry that they're going to have.
The only way that trade works out is if Kyrie isn't into the trade. Isn't in the trade. That means Brooklyn would have to give up Jared Allen, They'd have to give up Spencer Dinwiddie. They'd have to give up so many different role players that I don't know if you want to do that, because that team was a playoff team. They were a 6th seed in the East last year. Like we said, the East is easy to get into the playoffs, but either way, they're a playoff team without having KD the whole season and without having Kyrie in the bubble. Mm-hmm. That's worth noting. Karis LeVert is an absolute animal in the bubble, and you want to see what what you have out of him. So the Nets they're a title contending team right now.
Yeah, I think
people are sleeping on them.
I
don't know if you want to blow it up.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to blow it up at all. I think the chemistry will work now because Kyrie is going to want the ball all the time. And the good thing about having Kyrie and Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant doesn't matter how much somebody else on the floor wants the ball. Kevin Durant's going to do what Kevin Durant does. He's that good that he's always going to get his numbers. He's always going to put himself in situations to win you games. So I think that chemistry will work now for the Nets. And I do think that they're a title contender team. The other team that nobody's talking about as a title contender still lives over in Oakland, the Warriors. I think people are in for a rude awakening when the NBA does come back. The Warriors are probably going to make a pretty big run for the Western Conference.
I'm a Warrior hater, first of all, because I didn't like the KD signing there. I didn't like all that, and I love seeing that team fall apart. If we're being honest, Kelly Oubre signing huge. I think Kelly Oubre is going to add another dimension to that team, but people are acting like Andrew Wiggins is some absolute deadly shooter. Andrew Wiggins. They're expecting Andrew Wiggins to fill Klay Thompson's hole, and that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. I hate to break it to you. And then you're relying on Steph to stay healthy, which, knock on wood, hopefully he does. But I mean, who knows what that's going to look like? And then your offense is going to run through Draymond Green? No, fuck no. You might as well go to James Wiseman then. Kelly Oubre is a good off-ball offensive player, but then you're trusting a rookie to run your offense. And if that team I wasn't big on Warriors making playoffs last year when they lost KD, and look what happened. They were one of the worst teams in the league, especially due to injuries. Mm-hmm. But now they're halfway retooled. They're a better team than they were last year. But I'm still not. Everyone's saying they're a top 4 seed. I don't see that. I think they're a bottom 4 seed, and they're very lucky to get the 7 or 8 seed.
I wouldn't say they're a top 4 seed, especially after Klay went down. But I do think that in professional sports, if you have a team that's been in the championship and been in a lot of playoff series, and you still have guys that have been there, it goes a long way. We saw it. I think that's been the downfall of the Avalanche in the NHL playoffs the last couple of years. But this team, outside of the young guys and the new guys that they brought in, Draymond and Steph have a ton of playoff experience in the NBA. So I think if they do sneak in, then they become one of those dark horse teams. But losing Klay definitely doesn't put them in the top.
Yeah, no, that'll help them a lot in the playoffs. But when it comes to the regular season, say Steph is not having his game, who do you go to? Do you go to Wiseman? I don't go to Draymond. I don't trust Draymond.
That's a big question.
So if it's not Steph's night, who do you go to? And that answer was Klay Thompson, or that answer was KD at one point. So now you don't have that. What's going to happen? So if you can squeeze in the playoffs, it's going to be tough. They're going to be a tough matchup. But if they have the 8th seed, you're facing down the Lakers, and that might not be easy too.
No, the Lakers, and they just they got Anthony Davis to re-sign. Everybody knew it was going to happen pretty much. But $195 million extension, the biggest extension that he could get. And we saw LeBron redo his deal to
1-on-1 deal. So now next year's free agency class adds a little more to it, because now LeBron might take less and Giannis could join them. So that might even wreak havoc too. So. And
I do think that at some point LeBron is going to go wherever Bronny gets drafted. That could be a whole topic for an entire episode, is whether or not the NBA and the NCAA should get rid of the one and done for high school athletes. But that's going to add another addition to the NBA offseason. The next couple of years is going to get really, really juicy with wherever LeBron and Bronny are going to
This is kind of the calm for the storm, because in the next few years it's going to be absolutely insane. The one thing I did say on the reserves that kind of portrayed the future was this 1-on-1 deal, or this 3-year deal now. Sorry, it was 2-on-1. But either way, 3-year deal now has the option now when Bronny comes out, he could join him. And that's what you were predicting, but my prediction was that Bronny goes to the Cavs. The Cavs have the number 1 pick. Yeah. LeBron ends his career in Cleveland. They're a formidable team in the East, so LeBron joins that team, and LeBron could pass the torch to Bronny then eventually. So I think they have Bronny be Cleveland's team. So.
Yeah, that would be a huge story. They're going to make a Disney movie out of that if that happens.
It would be very similar to the Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. thing, except it's one of the Ken Griffey is an all-time great, but LeBron is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. So it's a different aspect to it.
The difference is the son is not going to be, or not projected to be that much better than the dad. Because Ken Griffey Jr. is widely regarded as one of the best, especially best left-handed hitters in baseball ever. His dad was good, but definitely not that good. Now, let's transition into our NFL because it's going to be kind of a lot of NFL all at once. I wanted to we'll recap the games that we live tweeted, and then if we have another one that we wanted to bring up, we can. So let's start with the Browns and Titans because we live tweeted that. I said it on the live. I was the one live tweeting the Titans-Browns game. We're closeted Titans fans, and as a closeted Titans fan, I'm a little bit ashamed of what we saw happen yesterday, especially because now the Browns are 9-3 for the first time, and whoever can remember how long. A chance of making the playoffs for the first time since 2002. That's big. And they look really, really good against the Titans team that I thought was going in the right direction, but Derrick Henry got held at 60 yards rushing yesterday.
That Browns defense showed a lot. Myles Garrett is very formidable in the run game. I didn't think he was, but he showed me I was wrong.
Yeah.
That Browns team had a lot of great things going for them. Baker made the smart plays. He didn't have to force things too much.
He had a career high passing, 334 yards.
He had an absolute animal of a game. The dude was unbelievable. I'm going to give him a lot more credit because he's been shit on a lot, but he's brought this team back to winning ways, and they haven't seen that in 40 years.
This was a franchise-changing victory because I think everybody watching the game, especially in the second half when the Browns' offense wasn't scoring as much, you had a feeling that this was a game that the Browns would be up for most of it and then give away. I think the Cincinnati game where they came back in the last minute to take the lead and win that game, and then this game where they held on to a lead against, I think, a playoff team. The Titans are still probably a playoff team. Who knows if they win the division now because the Colts won yesterday, so they're back in a tie. But this is a game where the culture that the Browns have had, the losing and the misery and the factory of sadness, this is where you can maybe change it to now we can be a contender if we have the right pieces. Because they did what they needed to. They kept running the ball, put Baker in play action and move the pocket. That's great because then he doesn't have to worry about reading the defense all that much. And then Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has kicked it into another gear.
We'll say that joke every week.
Every single week, but he's played pretty good. And he stepped in for Nick Chubb when he was out, and the Browns didn't really fall off as much as I thought. Donovan Peoples-Jones surprised me a little bit, the rookie receiver from Michigan, but the Browns have a winning formula. If they can control the line of scrimmage, run the ball, and get Baker in good situations, they're a tough team for anybody to beat.
Yeah, no, they're a wild card team now for sure. They're going to be a very tough opponent for anyone when they go on the road. If they have to go to a team like Buffalo, I believe they could beat them.
Mm-hmm.
They have to maybe go to Indianapolis or go back to Tennessee. Who knows? I mean, they already showed they can dominate Tennessee on the line of scrimmage. So that's another thing that's absolutely insane. But the Browns are a formidable team. They are a playoff team now, in my opinion. Having that 9 wins, I'm sure Browns fan is like a monkey off your back.
You're having a winning season.
Having a winning season.
And you're not going to have an 8-8 season. That's great.
Browns fans can finally be happy for once. On the other side of that, Titans defense just absolutely shit the bed. That's in my opinion. The offense took way too long to get going, and they needed that defense to hold it down, and they weren't able to do that. Clowney was not even there. He didn't do anything.
He had surgery. He's on IR for the rest of the season. He had surgery on Saturday, and it got released like early Sunday morning, but nobody knew about it until Saturday night.
Yeah. Either way, man, that's obviously tough loss. But we were saying that their secondary is much improved. But I was saying that on the Sunday morning show, but they absolutely got torched.
And their linebackers didn't look good. This showed, I think, a lot of holes. This is a lot more worrisome for the Titans than I think people thought because Tannehill played great. Tannehill, I think, had over 300 yards passing. Yeah, he had 389 yards
Most of those
passing.
did come the second half when they were making their comeback, but still, he still had a good game.
He wasn't the reason that you lost. Corey Davis, 182 yards receiving, but the thing is, if you can slow down Derrick Henry at all, it doesn't matter what any of the rest of this offense can do because at this point, the defense isn't going to keep games close enough for you to be able to rely on Tannehill to get hot in the second half. That's where it bodes a little bit worse for the Titans coming out of this matchup. I said it last week on the podcast. This was whoever's going to control the line of scrimmage when they get to the playoffs. You're going to announce yourself here, and the Browns did that. The Titans, unfortunately, shout out the boys, Taylor Lewan and Will Compton, busted with the boys.
Could have used Will a little bit more. Will didn't have as good of a game either, too. So.
No, he was in on a few situations, and then the sack at the end of the game. that Quisenberry gave up. I doubt Lewan gives up a sack like that, but Myles Garrett was on another level on Sunday. His first game back coming off the COVID list, he looked really, really good.
Dude, before the COVID list, he was one of the people in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
He's back in the sack race. He had, I think, one sack and almost had another. But he and Aaron Donald are they're the two best young defensive linemen in this league. You can talk about Ndamukong Suh and Fletcher Cox as the guys who hold down the generation before. Aaron Donald and Myles Garrett are something different with their blend of speed and power, something that I can't remember ever seeing before.
Yeah, no, it's a new breed of defensive tackle now. It's fantastic to see, that's for sure.
Now let's move on, because I think the Broncos game isn't going to be as bad to talk about as I think we probably expected going into the weekend. When neither of us picked the Broncos, we almost were proven wrong. Almost proven wrong, and I know you would have taken that.
Yeah.
You'd have taken the L on the pick'em if the Broncos would have been able to pick up a win in Arrowhead. But what did you see from your Broncos? You live tweeted the game, so you watched.
I was very, very excited. This is the exact same excitement I had after the Chargers game, and we lost. We had a chance to win that game. Drew Lock still has kinks to work out. Throwing an interception on the first drive was tough, but that defense, I'm going to say it over again, this defense is very, very, very good. Mm-hmm. People are sleeping on this defense so much. Justin Simmons is one of the best safeties in this game and one of the most underappreciated defenders in this game, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell have been formidable and absolutely incredible inside. That run game has been slowed down completely, and anyone we face, the running game is not going. I don't want to hear about Devin Bush anymore, because right now Devin Bush is on the IR and Alexander Johnson is leading this team in tackles, and he's an absolute animal. Yeah. So I'm not worried about Devin Bush not being there for the Broncos 2 years ago. I know you love saying that, but Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell are proving wrong. So before I move on to everything else. But besides that, Broncos did what they needed to do to win that game, and that was force the Chiefs to field goals. Force the Chiefs to get 3 points. You know they're going to drive down the field. The thing is, you got to lock down the red zone and force that team to kick field goals, and that's what they did until the second half. Yeah. That's what they were able to do, and then finally they got a touchdown at the end of the game. But they were able to do that, and that's one of the reasons why they're in that game. It's unfortunate that the defense couldn't hold on to that for so long, but the offense needed to produce it better. They had a great first half. They were driving the ball. That's another thing that you got to do against the Chiefs. You got to drive the ball. You got to have long drives to keep Mahomes off the field. That's what we're seeing in the first half. That's why we had the lead. We could have had an even bigger lead if McManus had made that field goal, didn't give the Chiefs great field position before the end of the half. Yep. We would have gone to that second half being up 12-6. That's completely different too, because the Chiefs came back and only scored 3 points. And they took the lead after that. So either way, it's one of those things where it's small things now. I'm very excited for this team. Shermer looks like he's finally getting the offense intact and finally knowing the identity of this team, and that's running the ball. It took me a while to finally get through to Melvin Gordon, but Melvin Gordon has been playing really well. The long run was absolutely massive for the offense to get going.
Just not fast.
He's just not fast. Yeah, Phil Lindsay is just burst.
That's a touchdown for Phil Lindsay. That's a 60-yard run for Melvin.
Either way, though, I liked how they used both of them. I've been wanting to say give Philip Lindsay the ball more, and they've been able to do that. They were able to mix it up more. Philip Lindsay, you know now if they're in the shotgun, he's halfway. He's gotten better at pass blocking too, so he's been able to step up a little bit more and give Drew Lock some more time. So now you don't know if it's on that handoff in the backfield when he's back there. So there's little things that are making it better. We could this past week shows me that if we had a formidable quarterback, anyone that knows how to throw the ball, we would have beat the Saints. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, the defense. I think this shows, and we talk about the divisional opponents knowing their other divisional opponents better than anybody. This improves the fact that the AFC West is one of the better divisions in football, because now you have the Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers all competing with the Chiefs for the top of that division.
Not the Chargers.
Well, I mean, they play them close. Every team in this division plays each other close, so it's not as much. It's not the Chiefs and everybody else. Yeah. The Chiefs definitely still are the best team in the division, but it's getting better. And I think that Noah Fant is proving that you have another one of these, because if you're going to be a great offense in this division, you have to have a tight end that's a dynamic threat, and Noah Fant is going to be that guy if Shermer can kind of get him a little bit more involved. I think there's other things that you can do. And Tim Patrick stepped up and had a great game yesterday, too. He announced himself that Cortland Sutton is your number one, but Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy now can decide who's going to be that 3. Jerry Jeudy had a rough night last night.
KJ Hamler had a fantastic night, too.
KJ Hamler
so on the flip side
too.
of that, you have 4 receivers now. I mean, this team is banged up. Cortland Sutton would add another dimension to this team. Defense would be absolutely even better if you had Jarrell Casey and Von Miller, too. Like, it's little things that, but you got to get healthy. We got to make small adjustments, but I'm seeing the shift. I'm seeing the shift. And I see it from where we were a few years back, but I see the shift happening. It's finally now the time we got to get it all together, get the right people in the right positions, got to get the right tackle figured out, got to get some other things figured out, but you have weapons on offense. You have the defense formidable without injuries. I'm going to say formidable way too many fucking times. I guess that's my word of the week. But
I
guess that's my word of the week because I don't know why I've said that so many times, but the defense has been very, very, very good, and that's without your one of the best edge rushers in NFL history, Von Miller.
Yeah, I think that the talent is there, and I think that game solidified Fangio a little bit more. There's a lot of guys that are calling for his job and calling for his head, mainly based off of that decision to punt instead of go for it, because you know that your defense isn't going to be able to stop the Chiefs. They ran out of the magic that they had in the first half.
You also got to remember Fangio's calling the defense.
Yeah.
Fangio is a defensive coordinator, so that's not on him to punt the ball necessarily too. Yeah, it probably is his decision at times, but either way, Shermer runs that offense, and Vic Fangio did the right things to slow down the Chiefs. And if you hold the Chiefs to 22 points and they only score 1 touchdown, then that's a game you have. No, they only scored 1.
They ended up scoring 2. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was only 1 because so it was 16-22, and then they had 2 field goals after that. I'm pretty sure that was it because it was.
I guess it was.
You only hold them to 1 touchdown, which is that helps you win games against that team.
It should have been 2. That's what it was because Tyreek Hill did catch that ball in the end zone.
It's his fault. It's his fault.
You'll hear about him later in the week. It is his fault, and that's why you'll hear about him later in the episode. But I think that was as good of a performance as you could have expected for the Broncos.
Yeah, I said before the game started, I wanted a tough game, and I want the Broncos team to show heart, and that's exactly what they did, and that makes me more excited for the future. Now we just got to get the right things going, and we got to get.
And you got to win the divisional games toward the end of this year.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to beat the Raiders. You're gonna have to beat the Chargers. The Bills, you know what? The Bills and Panthers, I can give you a little bit of slack, but. To prove that you're still in the fight for this division moving forward, you got to win your divisional game.
I said it a few weeks back. If the Broncos win 3 out of 4 against the Chargers and the Raiders, and there's still a shot at that, then you can win. Then you can have a chance at the playoffs. And you have to do that now. So
yeah, and they still could finish with at least a 500 record.
Exactly.
Finish without a losing record for the first time in the last 3 seasons. So the Broncos did look pretty decent in their loss yesterday. Let's mention the Jets because I want you to give Dom your new stipulation for how you'll wear a Jets jersey.
I've been saying this for 8 weeks now. Something stupid like that the Jets aren't going to win the game this year. And y'all thought I was dumb. Y'all thought, no, there's no way that they go 0-16. This team shows continually why they are not good coached or good as a team at all. I feel so bad for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold deserves so much better than that shithole organization. Yeah, I just said that, Dom. Fuck the Jets because they suck and they don't know how to treat their players right. Darnold deserves to go somewhere else. I believe, in my opinion, a place that we talked about this a little bit before, but it's a place that I think he could strive in is San Francisco. I think he could go down there and with that team and be a playoff team in the NFC. So he needs to leave. He's going to leave. I guarantee you I'm not wearing a Jets jersey because of a win. So I'm going to put this out there. If the Jets go 0-16, Dom, if you go and get a Trevor Lawrence created jersey using the Fanatics deal,
it has to be through the link, otherwise this doesn't count.
It doesn't count. And buy a 16 Trevor Lawrence all-black Gotham City jersey, then I will wear it when they go 0-16. Because that's the only Jets jersey I'll ever think about wearing. Because now, Jimmy, you jinxed yourself, first of all, too.
I did, yeah.
Because you tweeted me, you texted me the picture, and I was like, you just fucked yourself. My phone has been broken the past week, so I'm texting basically through my computer, and I didn't have it at that time, and I was like, Jimmy, you just jinxed yourself. In my head, because I saw it, but I couldn't respond. I was like, you jinxed yourself. This is just ridiculous, and The Jets aren't winning a game this year. I think the argument needs to be said is who do you think wins the 0-16 Lions or the 0-16 Jets? And right now I'm picking the Lions because Adam Gase doesn't know how to win football games. And Greg Williams, you'll hear your name later on, don't worry. But there's a lot of other things that are bad in that organization.
He's unemployed now as well. That happened over the weekend. Greg Williams got fired. Adam Gase still has a job. Don't know why. I think Greg Williams' defense didn't mesh with the hyperdrive offense, so maybe that's their reasoning behind it. But Dom, there you have it. If they go 0-16, he'll wear a Jets jersey, but you're losing the bet.
Give me the Gotham City Black ones too, because those are clean, but you don't have a team.
You can keep it. He'll just wear it for the episode.
I'll wear it for an episode,
but that's the only way that he'll probably see a Jets jersey. The way that they lost that lead with 5 seconds, you knew that was the only thing that they were going to do. You can't stop a Hail Mary with 5 seconds.
You blitzed 7. You blitzed 7
on a Hail Mary.
And your middle linebacker was playing spy. What the fuck are you doing? They had 8 players within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and you had 3 players deep, and all you had to do was get a tackle. You find new ways to lose.
Yeah.
You find new ways to lose. It makes it easy. You make the Chargers look good. You make the Chargers look good.
I think Adam Gase is probably the reason Anthony Lynn still has a job too, because Chargers can just look and go, hey, he's not as bad as the guy in New York. Oh, okay.
That's so bad. You're going to keep hearing about this the rest of the episode. Don't worry. Because at the end, you'll hear all about my Benchwarmer of the week and play of the week. So don't worry.
There you go. Let's do most dominant, and then we'll get into a break so people can hear about Fanatics and wherever else they can do. They can find our stuff. So I'll start. My most dominant team, we talked about them, the Cleveland Browns. Held Derrick Henry to 60 yards on defense. And it was not as close of a score as those last couple garbage time touchdowns made it seem. That was a huge win for the Browns. They're my most dominant team of the week.
My most dominant team of the week is the Patriots because the Chargers suck. Everyone had the Chargers so hyped. They're the second best team in this division. They have so much talent. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. If Justin Herbert was on the Bengals, he'd be winning games. It's unfortunate. I think Justin Herbert's overhyped. You can't even put up a single point against this Patriots defense, who has been very bad recently.
Who has half of them opted out anyways, so they're not even playing their defense.
The fucking Patriots defense allowed 28 points to the Jets. You're telling me Justin Herbert, all the hype, can't score 3 points? Kendall Hinton scored 3 points.
Yeah.
Against one of the best defenses in the league. And you're telling me you can't go out and score points? In from middle, absolutely terrible. Patriots, you're my most dominant team in the league, not because of your performance, because the Chargers suck and their organization sucks, and you have talent, but you don't know how to fucking use it. You're telling me an offense with Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry can't score a single point? Yeah, you're an idiot. Chargers suck.
Anthony Lynn, your job is on the line. Shout out Eckler. I know you're doing your best out there. You're coming off the injury well.
You deserve better. Come to Denver. We'll throw you into the
come to Denver. Come to Denver. That'd be great. And I know you already have a place to stay and tons of people that would come out and support you at the games. Let's go ahead. Let the people hear about Fanatics, and we'll come back and finish up our episode with the pickem and our segments.
Benchwarmers, this week we have a special thing. Fanatics is sponsoring our first segment of the week. So it's the center of attention brought to you by our friends over at Fanatics. Be sure to go check it out. It's every Monday as we're talking about this, but they have great deals on it. But now, without further ado, man, let's get into everything now. I mean, my center of attention this week is going to revolve around the commissioners of all the leagues.
This is my blues.
Be sure to go get it. If you're watching the YouTube video, you know how good this hoodie looks, and there's plenty of other great stuff. Any team, any sport, football, all the way through. I know you were looking at some soccer jerseys.
Yeah, there's some soccer jerseys on there. I only have one soccer jersey in my collection, but I might have to get some more.
There you go. And I'm going to have to be looking for probably a Nuggets, and then I'm going to get the reverse retro. I don't think I can get that through Fanatics, but
you can get the new red Skyline Nuggets jerseys though. Those are on
Skyline jerseys are through Fanatics, and there's a ton of stuff, slippers, coasters, anything. They have
all holiday shopping should be through Fanatics and using our link too. More importantly,
yeah, because that helps out the network, and we love the network's doing great so far. So we love all the support there. But let's go ahead and finish this episode. Give them the pick'em, because I know a lot of people love our pick'ems. Love how we go back and forth with each other. I'll start off with my stats for the week because I calculate the stats for the NFL and Hinge show, so I might as well give myself some love. I went 6-6 on the week, so even 500. I think. You were 7-5, so you had one more game than I did. But I'm 65-59 overall, so I haven't had a couple bad weeks in a row. I'm starting to get myself back into this.
I'm very disappointed in 7-5. It's a winning record, but I expect more from myself because I am that good of a picker. When we're filming this, we still have 3 games to go.
Yeah.
2 games to go because I picked the Steelers, right, and so did you.
The Steelers, actually, they're tied with the football team right now. 17-17, 5:45 left.
Okay, so never mind. My record could get worse, but either way.
Mine could too. I might end with the losing record. Might not be 5.
So either way, I'm disappointed in my 7-5 record. I had some tough games, but I'm getting better at this. I am the god of pickem on the NFL and Hinge show. Jimmy doesn't get to put his in, but I do. So I'm the god of it. And luckily, the only reason why I have the record I do is because we don't count the weeks I wasn't there. And I wasn't there the first week.
Yeah.
And my record the first week was really good. It was really good.
It was. No, that was when you kind of took a commanding lead in ours on the show.
Exactly. So
there's a lot to. I'm gonna say you're hyping yourself up a little bit, but I'll allow it because you are beating me.
Yeah.
But let's get into this week, and the first game, Thursday night game, Patriots Rams. We have Thursday night football back. Sean McVay got the Rams back in first place in that division, and the Patriots had a huge bounce back win. I'm not sure what the Patriots are. I don't know if they're a wild card team, if they should just give up at this point. But who are you picking, the Patriots and Rams?
Yeah, Patriots Rams. I think it's a very, very good game. Patriots are showing a lot. They're showing a lot this week. I'm very high on the Rams though because I love Aaron Donald. I picked them right the last couple of weeks. I'm one of the few people that's been able to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go the Patriots here. Actually, sorry, I take that back. I'm going the Rams here because I'm gonna stick with them. Aaron Donald is the best player in the NFL. He's going to continue to ball out. The Patriots, you beat up on a terrible Chargers team, but you're not there yet. I do think, however, the Patriots do squeeze in the playoffs, but I'm taking Rams here.
Yeah, I think that they showed they can still get themselves in the playoffs. I'm going with the Rams because I picked against them for the last couple of weeks, and they've proved me wrong. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And Aaron Donald is making that defense into what it could be, and that's going to save Jared Goff from some of the mistakes that he's going to make. So we both got the Rams in that one. Next, the next one I have on my list is the Cowboys and Bengals. Brandon Allen got benched for Ryan Finley, so I do want to keep Brandon Allen around. I think he's a better backup long term, but it's Cincinnati's in shambles. Let's be honest. And Brian Flores almost fought our entire roster, and I honestly in that fight I might take Brian Flores over anybody that we have on the field, which is terrible to say the head coach could beat up our entire team. This is a sore subject for me. I want to move on from this as quick as possible.
Yeah, this is a tough game too. Like it's a shithole of a game. Both teams are in a terrible spot. Cowboys are probably going to fire McCarthy too at the end of the year. Jason Garrett.
The Bengals might fire Zach Taylor too. I've seen that floating around.
So yeah, both these teams might have to be on a cute or head coach watch within the next year. But I'm going to go the Cowboys too. Yeah, they have more talent right now, and that's saying a lot considering they have Andy Dalton back there. And it's just be rubbing salt into the wound if Andy Dalton beats you guys.
Oh, if Andy Dalton ends the season as the last quarterback to win in Cincinnati, if he's the last quarterback to win in Cincinnati this season, that'd be terrible.
Oh, that salt to the wound, Jimmy. I'm going to pick the Cowboys just because.
I'm going with the Bengals because I do think that the talent-wise, this one, and the Bengals have been competitive at least early on in the last couple games. Granted, it's a 104-yard kick return and a 72-yard screen that they've scored on, but their playmakers are still there. So I think that the Bengals could possibly get this and get this one done. So I'm picking the Bengals over the Cowboys just because they're at home too.
That's fair. Okay, I won't hate you going for your team. But next game we have Houston going into Chicago. And playing the Bears. Bears. I'll start here. The Bears maybe looked stupid last week. I picked the Lions on our show, and then when I went to NFL Unhinged, I switched it because they didn't have DeAndre Swift and they didn't have Galladay. The Lions poured it on, and they just dominated that team. The Bears are frauds. I'm going the Texans, and Deshaun Watson is going to prove why the Bears missed out on one of the best young QBs of this generation.
Yeah, I think we had this argument a couple weeks ago just texting on a Sunday, but I think Deshaun Watson's the best quarterback in that class, and it's the Mahomes, Trubisky, and Watson class. But I do think that he's going to prove. This is a 2017 draft order revenge game for Deshaun Watson. I know.
Hold up. We're not going to go past that one.
Oh, we're not going to breeze past that one? Okay.
We're not going to go past that one that fast.
Okay.
You're telling me Deshaun Watson is better than Patrick Mahomes.
Answer me this. Do you think Patrick Mahomes puts Houston in a better position if he's in Houston?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I do. I think
with Bill, well, remember he would have had Bill O'Brien, not Andy Reid, and he would have started right away and not had a year to sit.
He finds ways to win games, and Deshaun Watson does do that. But I want Patrick Mahomes to lead my team down the field. Even if the Texans' weapons, you got to remember Tyreek Hill. He did nothing though before Patrick Mahomes came in. Alex Smith, Tyreek Hill was just a slot receiver.
He
was on the team, but he was just a slot receiver. He wasn't the number one of the top 5 receivers in the game right now. Kelsey, I believe, wasn't there either, and he made those players in the way they are right now. Mahomes was on the Texans. Yeah, O'Brien's a shit coach, but I still trust him right now more than I trust Deshaun Watson. But that's not saying a whole lot because Deshaun Watson is a stud. Yeah. He is a stud. I'm not going to... But it's just ridiculous that you think Deshaun Watson's better.
I just think if you reverse the roles, Deshaun Watson
Deshaun Watson
or Patrick Mahomes doesn't elevate the Texans as much as people would give him credit for. That's the only reason I make that argument.
I think they'd win more games if Mahomes was still a quarterback.
I'll just keep this short. I'm picking the Texans because the Bears suck and their defense is finally giving up on Matt Nagy. So Matt Nagy's going to be on the unemployment line here coming up, which is crazy to say. He won Coach of the Year 2 years ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of coaches that are going to be on the unemployment line, that's for sure.
There should be.
Next game we have Patrick Mahomes going up and playing against the Dolphins.
With Tua.
I'll let you start because for some reason the Dolphins are your second most hated team in the NFL. I don't know why, but you hate on them every time we ever talk about them on the NFL and Hinge show. So I'll let you hate on them some more.
I'll give Brian Flores this. He is the best coaching hire of the year that he got hired, and I said that when I was on the radio out in Gunnison in college. So I think that he's done a great job with that team. I think Tua gets a little bit too much credit because of his situation and everything that surrounded his draft. I'm picking the Chiefs because I think that the Chiefs aren't going to fall asleep against... This could have been a trap game depending on how the Dolphins were, but the Dolphins are good enough that the Chiefs can't take them lightly, even though the Chiefs don't even know who they play every week because they gave the Raiders credit for the Broncos game last night instead of the Broncos. I'm picking the Chiefs. They're just more talented and in a better position than the Dolphins.
Yeah, I just don't understand where the Dolphins hate comes from because you hate
because Tua isn't doing that.
It wasn't
great.
even that. Like you hated on. You completely obliterated when we talked about 16-0 teams about the only undefeated team to finish.
Because the 72 Dolphins team just pisses me off because they still do a toast every single year when the last undefeated team loses. So they're just like, yeah, just be great. Don't tell me how great you are. Just be great.
It's the Dolphins. I don't know why you hate them so much, but whatever. Yeah, it's easy. I'm picking the Chiefs here. I won't buffer on that too much, but taking the Chiefs. Next game we have Arizona Cardinals going into Meadowlands and facing the New York Giants.
The NFC leader. NFC East leader.
And crazy to say this, but the Giants are the best team in that division.
Yeah.
Their defense is very, very good. People are sleeping on them. Colt McCoy, shout out Colt McCoy, dude. The dude did everything right to win the game against the Seahawks team. Seahawks have a lot of problems, man. The Giants defense showed a lot of great promise, but considering the fact that you weren't able to beat a team without their starting quarterback is insane to me. Yeah. I'm not sure if Daniel Jones is playing this week, but it's hard for me to pick against the Cardinals here, though. Cardinals are a very, very good team.
That was a good swerve.
Yeah, the Cardinals are a very good, very, very good little swerve there. But Cardinals are a great team. Kyler Murray, I trust right now more than Daniel Jones or Colt McCoy. Yeah, I said that about Russ over them last week, but Cardinals top to bottom are still really, really good. And I think that was a fluke last week, so I'm going with the Cardinals.
I don't know. The Cardinals the last 2 weeks have had 2 bad losses, so I'm wary to pick them, and they've made me look stupid. And the Giants, on the other hand, have made me look stupid because I hadn't been picking them. I think that they are proving themselves that they're going to be the representative for the NFC East. And what they did last week really impressed me. So I'm going with Giants at home over the Cardinals.
How about that? Okay, I don't hate that at all. Next game we have the Vikings going in to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bucs are coming off a bye week. Who do you have in this one?
I picked the Buccaneers mainly because I'm pissed that the Vikings did end up beating the Jaguars. That was going to be one of my biggest upsets of the year. And I was this close in overtime. Glennon kind of screwed me. He was saving me, and then he ended up screwing me at the end. But the Buccaneers off a bye week, I think they're going to work out whatever wrinkles they need to. And they're still going to be a playoff team just because they're that talented. Their defense is that good. So Buccaneers over the Vikings.
Yeah, it's easy. I'm picking the Bucs here too. It's ridiculous that the Vikings are they have so much talent, man. They have so much talent. Kirk Cousins is just not able to close games out.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Dalvin Cook, I'm going to say it every week, Dalvin Cook is in the playoff or MVP race. The dude has been an absolute animal, but the barely beating a Mike Glennon-led Jaguars at home is just insane to me. So that's why I'm picking the Bucs here. The Bucs defense is a lot better too, and a greater position than what they show. So
yeah, they haven't looked good, but I think they'll look good coming off the bye. Vance Joseph, isn't he the defensive?
No, he's a coordinator in Arizona. He's not Tampa Bay. He's in Arizona. Trust me. We don't talk about that name ever in Denver. So next game we have my Denver Broncos going into playing Teddy Bridgewater. I can't talk. Teddy Bridgewater and the Carolina Panthers. Who do you have here?
I'm going Panthers because it's at home, and the Broncos have not played the NFC South well this season. And Matt Rule, I think, is a really good head coach. I'm going with Matt Rule and Teddy Bridgewater over the Broncos.
Because of what the Broncos showed me last week, I'm going to stick with them. If we play very similar to what we did last week, and that's force 3 points instead of 7, the Broncos are going to win this game, in my opinion. They don't have run CMC either, so that's another problem. But Teddy Bridgewater I've said it right that time. Teddy Bridgewater has been playing very well, so I will give him that credit. So it's going to be a closer game than most people think, but I'm picking the Broncos. So.
Yeah, the Falcons game is what's giving me. I can't pick the Broncos just based off what they did in Atlanta, because I thought they were going to beat the Falcons, and they laid an egg on the road. And this is another tough road game.
That's fair. I don't hate you for that. Next game we have Tennessee Titans coming off a tough loss, going into Jacksonville playing the Jaguars, who almost squeezed out a win. Who do you have here?
I'm going Titans. I'm still not sure about them moving forward in the postseason, but the Jaguars, they screwed me. Like I just said, they screwed me on the last pick'em. I thought they were going to get the upset. I just don't think that they're good enough to beat the Titans.
Yeah, no, they're not good enough. They're not. The Titans ran into a buzzsaw. Yeah, I just said that. Buzzsaw and the Browns in the same sentence. Yeah, because they've been that good. But
the dog pound is
the
back.
Titans get it back on track. I trust them more than I trust Mike Glennon, that's for sure. And Vrabel will make adjustments. So I'm picking the Titans here. Next game we have the Colts hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a very, very interesting game here. Two teams who look like they could be in the playoffs. Who do you have here?
I went with the Colts because the Raiders have not looked good against bad teams the last 2 weeks. They should not have had to beat the Jets on a last-second Hail Mary, and they got pounded by the Falcons. So I'm going with the Colts because they've been a little bit more consistent in the last couple weeks than the Raiders.
I don't doubt you for that. The Raiders have fallen apart recently, getting obliterated, and then barely beating the Jets. That's just crazy to think. But I do think they get back on track. I think they're still a playoff team in my opinion. Yeah, I hate saying that. It hurts me deep down saying that. It hurts me a lot. But they'll get Jonathan Abram back, and they'll get Josh Jacobs back. So in my opinion, that's going to take them over the top. So I'm going to take the Raiders here.
We are sweating. I'm just going to point that out for the YouTube viewers, but I think it's just because the light that we bought. We bought a new light, so we look good, but it's hot. Yeah. It's a little warm in here.
It's a little warm in here. So next game we have, Jimmy, here we go again. The New York Jets. Can they get a win against the Seahawks?
I didn't mention it when we were talking about them, but I'm off. The Jets are going to find a way to win one game. That proved me on Sunday that just won't happen. So even though the Seahawks look like crap, this is a get-right game for them. So I'm going Seahawks at home.
This is my Drew lock of the week. Oh. No shot. 0 shot the Jets win this game. I will be willing to bet thousands of dollars that the Jets don't win this game. Very easy. Next game we have Green Bay Packers going into Detroit and playing the Lions. Who do you have here, Jim?
I'm going with the Packers. I still don't trust them in the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers is a little bit too much like Jay Cutler for me. That's what I'm saying that again. I'm bringing that back up because that was if you listened to the NFL Unhinged show or watched it.
Asinine.
Niko didn't like that.
Thought about.
Zach fell out of the screen. He was so shocked when Kelsey said that. But I do think that the Packers are just better than the Lions. They got their one game after they fired their coach, but they're not going to get 2 in a row.
I don't understand that at all. Okay, yeah, same mentality, but Aaron Rodgers, his play right now, or ever in his whole career, is by far way better than Jay Cutler. And you want to know why I say that? Ask any Bears fan ever if they would have rather had Aaron Rodgers the past 10 years or anyone they've had recently, and they'll say Aaron Rodgers 20 times or 100 times out of 10. It does not matter. Jay Cutler, yeah, he's the best quarterback in Bears history, but that's not saying much because the Bears have never had really anything except Jim McMahon. So Aaron Rodgers is a stud. He's an animal. He's a bad man, and that's why I'm picking the Packers again. I will yell at Kelsey on Sunday. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
I'm still steaming after that. I'm still steaming.
I won't be
just
there.
Just because you can't compare people off of attitudes. That's just ridiculous.
I could see where Kelsey was coming from, but I don't necessarily know if I'd go as far as saying it's Jay Cutler-esque. I won't be there on Sunday for the NFL Unhinged show. I got a family thing that I got to go to, but I'm very, very much looking forward to watching that, or not watching it, listening to that.
And watching it on YouTube.
How are we going to do that if I'm not...
You're right. Well, I will figure it out and record it. So we'll do something. I'll figure something out. Okay. If not, you'll be able to listen to it for sure.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting
I thought about that, but we may not have an NFL Unhinged show on YouTube this week, but either way.
Now let's move on. Saints and Eagles, the next game, NFC East, and we might see a Jalen Hurts sighting. We might get a start out of him. We saw Jalen Hurts over the weekend. Wentz got benched, which he should have been benched a few weeks ago, I think. But Doug Peterson is doing everything that he can to try and keep that job a little bit longer. I'm going Saints. Taysom Hill threw his first touchdown pass in his career over the weekend, and he actually looked like a quarterback. I do think that they shut down half their playbook when they were playing against the Broncos. That's probably why that offense looked as bad as it did. But that defense is still really good. Quallen Alexander is still fitting in with that defense really well, so I'm going Saints over the Eagles.
Yeah, if Jalen Hurts starts this game, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. Jalen Hurts did play pretty well when he came in against the Packers, so I'm not going to hate him for that. Carson Wentz needed to get benched. He needed to get benched. He's a great person, and he has a lot of great potential, but he needed that little thing saying you're benched and throw another guy in there, and hopefully that lights a fire under his house, and hopefully he gets better. But I'm picking the Saints here too. It's hard to pick the Eagles right now.
Yeah, I think they're just at an all-time collapse at this point, especially after the Super Bowl a few years ago.
That's true. Next game we have two teams that know how to lose football games. Atlanta Falcons going in and playing the LA Chargers. I'll start here. Chargers, like I said, so much talent. Getting wasted under a shit coach under Anthony Lynn. Way too much talent to be putting up 0 points against a team. It doesn't matter if it's the Patriots. You're telling me you can't score a field goal? That's just bad. Terrible. I'm picking the Falcons here. Falcons showed a lot of heart at the end of their game last week, so I'm giving them a lot more credit. But Julio needs to get back on track. So does Todd Gurley, and I think they do it this week. So I'll take Falcons.
I'm going with the Falcons too, and I think it's the same reason. Their offense still looked good against the Saints. It's just a tough defense to do anything against. They did get the first touchdown, I think, in like 6 quarters against the Saints defense. So I'm going with the Falcons, and the Chargers need to get rid of Anthony Lynn faster than not. They can't keep him around.
Could be fired soon. Could be the next coach fired in halfway through this season, especially if they get dominated this week. But next game we have the Washington football team going in and playing San Francisco.
Yeah, speaking of the Washington football team, let's get an update on where that game is because we actually weren't able to watch it in Denver. They didn't have it on the Fox affiliates. Still tied. Actually, the football team just kicked a field goal to take the lead 20-17 with 20 seconds left. So we might have an upset.
Oh, man.
Wow.
All right, well, there goes the undefeated season. But we'll talk about that as later on because I'm sure the game will be ended by the time we close this episode out as we're recording it. But I'll start here. I'm taking the 49ers here.
There you go.
I predicted them to upset this week. As we're recording this, we haven't watched the game yet. So I do think this offense is slowly getting back to where it was. Mostert and Deebo Samuel being back is absolutely massive. So I'm taking the 49ers here. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. I'm taking the 49ers.
Yeah, I think the 49ers they're a lot better than we thought, but the football team's defense is something else, and I think the football team's defense will keep them in a close game against a Nick Mullins-led offense for San Francisco. So I'm going football team, 2 upsets in a row.
I don't hate that at all. It's going to be a good game, though. I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
Oh, actually, it was a touchdown, so they're up 23-17.
Okay, well, that probably seals that.
Yeah.
So as we're still on the topic of that, let's go Pittsburgh Steelers going into Buffalo. The one-loss Pittsburgh Steelers. Looks like that Dolphins team is going to drink tonight.
Yep.
But the one-loss Pittsburgh Steelers going in and playing Buffalo. Who do you have here?
Yeah, Larry Zonka is going to be lit tonight, and he'll probably post a video on Twitter. I might change my pick, but actually, I think the Bills are good enough to beat the Steelers anyways. but the Steelers are going to make it closer than I thought it was going to be now. The Steelers needed a game to lose. I don't think that a team can go undefeated during the regular season and finish. It just might not happen again. So this is good for the Steelers in the long run, but I think they lose again to the Bills.
I'll take the Bills just based upon the fact that they lost this week. I think they'll get it right. I think it was a short week too for them. That's another reason that may have played into it because they did play Wednesday, then you come back play Monday. That's a very tough week.
Yeah.
And NFL players, especially athletes in general, are known to get in habits, and having a game on a Wednesday is very hard to do, and that affects the next week. So I don't hate them at all for this game. It was a hiccup in the road. I'm gonna take the Steelers here. I'm gonna take Steelers here and take them to get right back on track.
All right, and the last one, Monday Night Football next week. It's a better match. It's a more important game than I think people were expecting. The Ravens gotta win. They play tomorrow, so we're not sure if they win this week. But they're playing the Cowboys, so maybe. But they're gonna have to win out to be able to make the playoffs the rest of the season. I'm going Browns with what they showed, and it's at home. And the Ravens, who knows what they're gonna look like after the debacle on last Wednesday afternoon. That was a ugly game. Trace McSorley might have to play quarterback. I'm sure Lamar Jackson will be back, but that's not a good matchup for the Browns or the Ravens anymore.
I'm gonna go against you here. I know you hate both these teams, but I'll take the Ravens. Lamar gets back on track. He is playing on Tuesday as we're recording this, the day before. So I think he gets back on track. Mark Andrews is out this week, but he will be back next week more than likely. So I think that helps them a lot. So I'm going to take the Ravens here on Monday night.
I think Myles Garrett might have something to say for that offense, but that's a Monday night game I'm very interested in. All the primetime games are pretty good. Mm-hmm. Washington and San Francisco is going to be more important than I think we thought, and then the Patriots Rams on Thursday. So good slate of games coming up next week. Hopefully I take the lead on you. I don't want to be losing in this anymore, but be sure to keep on a lookout and keep us held accountable. But now let's get into our segments. We can wrap up this episode 18 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. So let's get into the beats of the week. I'm going to start. We talked about Navy Army. Navy is a plus 225 underdog to beat Army, and it's a rivalry game, so you never know what's going to happen. It should be a slam dunk that Army wins, but that's a good underdog pick, especially for a rivalry weekend.
No, I don't hate that at all. Both teams will be up for that 100%, so That's going to be a good one. I'll stick with football then. I'm going the Broncos to beat the Panthers, plus 160. I think the Broncos team, like I said, if they play the same way they did last week and hold the Panthers to field goals and not touchdowns, I think the Broncos are able to win this game. Because of that, I'm taking the Broncos plus 160 on the road.
Yeah, that's a good line for an underdog because you make a pretty good amount of money if you get it right, but you don't lose a ton if you...
Exactly, yeah.
My next one, it's a football, but it's a end of the year awards. Justin Jefferson is plus 600 to win Rookie of the Year. I think he could do it depending on how his season ends. He's had a great year. Once they moved him from the slot to the outside, he's become something else. I think he just took over the second spot for the most yards by a rookie receiver in his first 12 games. So he's had a crazy year. Plus 600 is good odds for him.
I don't hate that at all. My next one, man, I'm going to hit at home. GCU plays Nevada on Friday. It's a rematch of a few years back. I went to the game. The game was at the Suns Arena, and we just got absolutely murdered. Nevada is a worse team now because both Martin twins are gone. They're back in the NBA, so they're not as good a team, so they're lower ranked technically, but I expect them to be the favorite. The odds haven't come out yet Monday because this game's on Friday, so sometimes that happens with these lower level college games, but I am predicting them to be the underdog, so for that reason, I'm taking them to beat Nevada. I think we stay undefeated and we take down Nevada.
Go Lopes. I'll get on the GCU bandwagon. I don't really have a college basketball team, so I'll be a closeted...
I'll make you a Havoc. We'll turn you into a Havoc.
There we go. I can be a Havoc. I can drink and then yell stuff at the college basketball games. That's fine. My next one is basketball as well. Looking at now the Bull video and the R.J. Hampton MPJ alley-oop, the Nuggets are plus 800 to win the Western Conference. Why not?
Why not
this year? Why not this year? Why not? Let's do it. Tim Connolly's made this team into a conference contender. Let's do it. Plus 800. Let's go Nugs.
I love it. I'll stick with basketball then. Monty Williams for Coach of the Year. The Suns are going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to turn a lot of heads. Chris Paul addition is going to take DeAndre Ayton to the next level. And because of that, Monty Williams, in my opinion, should have been arguably the Coach of the Year last year. The only reason why he wasn't that because they didn't make the playoffs because they went 8-0.
They should have,
but they didn't. But he's one of the best minded coaches in the NBA. It's unfortunate that he gets stuck in Phoenix, but now Phoenix has the right team, so I think he's able to push the Suns even to a 5 or 6 seed, in my opinion, and he gets Coach of the Year at plus 1,000.
Yeah, shout out Garrett. I know you're happy about that. Go Suns, because he lives out in Phoenix, so he's a huge Suns fan. Mm-hmm. Now let's go from something good to the worst of the week. Benchwarmer of the week, new segment we introduced a couple weeks ago. I'll start because it's going to make you happy. Tyreek Hill, another NFC or AFC West rival, is the Benchwarmer of the week. He did make a crazy catch, but he didn't have the confidence in himself to say, hey, Andy Reid challenged us, I made that catch. And Andy Reid punted it before they could do anything about the replay. So for the lack of confidence in yourself, Tyreek Hill, and the fact that you're a garbage human being who likes to hit your wife and kid, you're Benchwarmer of the week this week.
Yeah, I know. It's just ridiculous that he didn't even act like he caught the ball. He had the ball in his hand. He knew it was tipped. He had to hit his hands. He got tipped again, but you got to look around and act like you scored. Do something. Yeah. Act like you did something. And that would have probably been looked at again. But the fact that they had 10 seconds left on the not the shot clock. Wow, I'm thinking basketball already. On the play clock, and they still punted it away is ridiculous.
Honorable mention, Travis Kelce, for saying the wrong team in the postgame interview. That's just I don't know if you were on something or you just really weren't paying attention, but that was bad calling out the Raiders instead of the Broncos.
Yeah, that's fair. Next Benchwarmer for me. It's easy. I'm a kicking man when it's down. It's Greg Williams. Ooh. You're an idiot. I shit on you when the Broncos and the Jets played each other because you were throwing people at the end of the game when Drew Lock was just not Drew Lock. Was it Driscoll?
Yeah.
It was Jeff Driscoll was just throwing the ball out of bounds. Rippin was just throwing the ball out of bounds, and you were calling for his head and just absolute dirty shots. You deserve to be fired. And the fact that you blitzed 8 people when all you had to do was sit 6 of them in the back of the end zone and make sure nothing goes past your second line of defense. Asinine. Absolutely terrible. There's a reason why you just got fired. You don't deserve another coordinator job in the league. And that's saying a lot, because I don't say that a lot about coordinators, but the fact that pissed me off more than anything about the Broncos stuff, so that's why you're my Benchwarmer of the week.
He's the Bounty Gate defensive coordinator in New Orleans, too, so it's not like this isn't a pattern that he's had for a while. I don't disagree. He should probably not be allowed back into the league as a coach. Now,
I don't think anyone on the Jets should be allowed to coach in the league anymore.
Yeah, like I said it a couple weeks ago, Bill O'Brien should be banned for a couple years after what he did to the Texans. The Jets organization might have to take a couple years off as well. Now let's go play of the week. I'm going to stick with my Bengals because even though he was ejected, he did have the longest touchdown of his career, longest touchdown of the season for the Bengals, 72-yard screen that he took from Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen got a touchdown. He threw an interception and got benched, but I'm sticking with the positive. Look at the bright side. We got some playmakers in Cincinnati on the offensive side.
That's fair. I don't hate that at all. I'm going to have 2 honorable mentions because there's a lot of great plays this week, and I know neither of these 2 were on there for you. But my honorable mentions, 1, the Henry Ruggs game-winning touchdown. I was really this close to picking it because I went after Greg Williams in the Benchwarmer of the week. I won't put the Jets twice in all my segments at the end of the show, so I'm not doing that. So, and the second honorable mention is the Timmy P toe tap. Tim Patrick, absolutely incredible, incredible catch. Drew Lock put it on a dime, that's for sure, and it was a great pass. But my play of the week, very unheard of, very unsound and known across the league, but Wisconsin, number 4, was upset on Friday night and by Marquette on a game-winning tip-in. So if you watch, I watched the last 2 minutes of that game. Marquette was down. They came back, They got fouled at the end of the game. They got down to the line. They were down by 1. They had to make 1 to tie it, 2 obviously to win. Made the first one. Second one misses the front end. One of the guys, I can't name his name because I don't remember it. I didn't write it down like a dumbass. But on the side, sticks his hand up, tips it in with 0.8 seconds left on the shot, or in the game, excuse me. 0.8 seconds left in the game. Hit the game winner, upset number 4 team in the country. Should be more big news in the world, but since there's football and there's so many other things going on, it's not. But number 14, Wisconsin goes down on a game winner, so that's got to be my play of the week.
Yeah, I love tip-ins that finish the game. I had a couple of those that I called in basketball. I sent you them over the weekend. Mm-hmm. It's just tons of energy. So that was, I think you might win that one, especially because I picked a Bengals one. But that was a great play. Now, player of the week, I'm going to go with an AFC West rival, unfortunately, but he did kind of lead the Raiders in their comeback. The fact that they had to come back against the Jets is weird, but they did. Darren Waller, 13 receptions, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He is a crazy weapon at the tight end position. He's basically a receiver, but he can block a little bit. He's a total package tight end, but he's insane.
No, I don't hate that at all because one of my fantasy leagues in the game that I had to win, I had Darren Waller, and he put up 45 points for me, so I don't hate it at all. I might vote for you just because he helped me win a fantasy football
There you
game.
go. Thank you. I'll take it.
But my player of the week, man, he should have been player of the week last week, but I'm basing this off of the game on Tuesday as well. But Luke Garza, 30-point game in the first half on Saturday. And then he plays North Carolina on Tuesday, the day after recording this. So in my opinion, he's going to have another big game, another 30-point, 40-point game, and he's going to be my player of the week. The dude has been an absolute terror in college basketball, and he is going to be the Naismith Player of the Year, and could be, by the end of the year, a top 5 pick in the NBA draft.
There you go. That's going to wrap up the segments for this episode. Be sure to vote in those polls, the play of the week and player of the week, on our Instagram stories. We have those each week, and we like to get your guys' opinions. Continue to go at us on social media. I had a couple guys go at me when I was live tweeting yesterday. I don't know if you did. But follow us on social media at FEOTB Pod. We have a link tree in our bio for everything that goes on with the Far End of the Bench podcast. You can listen to us live on the Unhinged Sports Network Wednesdays from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. We have a special debut actually after us this week on the network, the Coach Steve Show, his first show on the Unhinged Sports Network. So shout out him. Stay tuned and get some more football knowledge.
And before we move on to that, man, we are going to give a quick shout out to our high school football team.
Yeah.
Won a state title. I mean, Coach Steve Show is a head coach in Nebraska, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, he's a high school head coach somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah, somewhere in the Midwest. So I got to give a quick shout out to our high school team for winning the state title.
Yep.
Shout out to Coach Logan. If you don't know who Dave Logan is, he's a former
NFL
receiver for the Browns.
Yep, the Browns.
And he's one of the best high school coaches in the country, in my opinion. So shout out them real quick. And then one more quick shout out is a few weeks late, but shout out The Undertaker for retiring. Yeah, I still watch wrestling a little bit.
It's still real to me, damn it.
The Undertaker is one of my favorite characters of all time. So shout out to you for retiring, but it hits home because all my favorite wrestlers are now retired. So it's tough.
Yeah, wrestling. I mean, I got pretty attached to some of the guys I watch. I loved Eddie Guerrero. It still brings, if I see some of the tribute videos to Eddie Guerrero, it still brings up bad memories. So be sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then tell your friends to subscribe. Like the video as well so that we continue to grow on that platform. And thank you for subscribing on all the listening platforms, listening live on the network. We really appreciate all the support. We got big things planned for the end of this year and leading into next year. So you want to get on board now. And keep rocking with us.
Yeah, hopefully this is a lot more better for the listener and viewer watching this on YouTube. We did get a ring light, and I don't have a car light shining in my face like we did last week. So trying to make it little things. Some of the money from Fanatics, if you use the code, will be able to upgrade it even more. So.
Yeah. With that, for Niko, myself, Jimmy Pilato, this has been Far End of the Bench, episode 18. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace.